Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Tales from the Midnight Diary. Here on this channel we talk about all things fibercraft related, primarily knitting and crochet, but there are some other crafts chucked in there as well. This is my weekly podcast or vlogcast. Podcasts are technically audio, but we'll skip over that for now. This is my weekly podcast where I chat to you about all the things I've been making and doing, and I also have 2 Minute Tuesday where I endeavour to bring you a little nifty trick every Tuesday, and we have tutorials as well at the Midnight Diary Night School. But here we are ready for a crafty chat. If you are trying out the podcast for the first time, welcome, lovely to meet you. The level of professionalism you can expect from me is middling to low at best. I don't tend to take myself too seriously. I just like to have a bit of fun and have a lovely chat with you guys. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then grab a cup of tea and settle in. To returning viewers, thank you very, very much for coming back week after week. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. And thank you also for your patience last week when I took a week off the podcast. I had some family things that I needed to spend time attending to, but I hope that you enjoyed the mini skein vlog that I popped up in its place, so I didn't leave you high and dry last Sunday evening. The mini skein vlogs are a new video series that are going to be coming every couple of weeks or so. And as you saw from that, slightly different to the normal podcast format. They won't usually take place on a Sunday. They'll probably come out on a Friday around the same, depending if I don't have a night school video coming up. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. And judging by the fact that we've got the conversation started, I think it's gone pretty well. Where you can find me should you want to find me, it's all down below, along with links to my web shop where you can purchase my hand-dyed yarns. Those are actually going to be updated tomorrow, Monday, the 22nd of March, and I have some gorgeous squish to share with you this afternoon. On this channel, we also like a make-along. If there's a bandwagon, I hop onto it and invite you to join me too. And occasionally I set off bandwagons of my own. We've got a couple of make-alongs that are wrapping up shortly. So that's the isolation along is ending at the end of March. So you've got one more week to get everything in. The vanilla along, which I'm co-hosting with the lovely Alice of the Dr. Sockstagram audio podcast. So that's a proper podcast, not like this, which calls itself a podcast, but it's video. Yeah, that is wrapping up at the end of lockdown as well, but do make sure you are listening to Alice's podcasts, which are lovely. She's got a very mellifluous voice to listen to, and following on Instagram as well. Do get your finished objects for those into the Project Bag Club, which is now called the Midnight Makers, which is my social group on Facebook. Had to think about that for a minute. So that Alice and I can draw winners from there. And I've got a couple of new make-alongs that I'm really excited to share with you as we get a bit deeper into the episode. So, what am I wearing? I am wearing my gorgeous, what's it called? Parma shawl by Anakin Alice, who is my all-time favourite lace designer. And I say this, she is my absolute all-time favourite lace designer, but I have never ever knit a single one of her patterns. I just collect them like a mad woman. I collect them and go, I want to make this, and I want to make this, and I want to make this. I tear them out of magazines. If there's a magazine advertised that has one of her patterns in it, I'm like, yes, I'm there. Absolutely love it. But this was my first go at actually knitting proper lace, one of her patterns. So I did this in February. So if you've seen episode 3, I want to say, then you will have seen this. To be honest, I've got no idea what episode I'm on. I keep meaning to check before I sit down to record, but I always forget. Very professional. But yeah, it's garter stitch with this gorgeous lace panel in the middle, and this has been worked in my merino tencel base. So tencel, in case you aren't familiar with it, is a sustainable fibre made from crushed wood pulp from sustainable sources. So it's not animal based, it's not a plastic, so it's not like as synthetic as nylon, for example, but it adds that extra strength and it adds this gorgeous luster, which I'm not sure is really showing up here, but hopefully in the photographs or in my yarn that you'll see later it will show up. But also it gives it so the luster of silk, but without it coming from little silkworms. And this amazing drape and bounce. It is really heavy, which I love. This shawl has never been blocked, and look how beautifully open the lace is. If I blocked it, it would become ginormous, I'm sure of it. But it's got this fantastic bounce, which I just adore. I'm actually going to leave this off now because it is kind of warm. But yeah, that is my first Anakin Alice pattern. I'm falling over it now. It definitely won't be my last. So normally on a podcast like this, we would talk about finished objects. Haven't got any. I know I had a week off. I should have an absolute abundance of content for you, but I'm afraid I don't. I don't feel like knitting anymore. I'm having a funk, basically. It happens to everyone. I think no matter how in love with your craft you are, there are occasional times where you just think, and I've just been thinking, and don't really want to do it. I've had no motivation. One thing that I have never done, even since I was like really small, so I've been knitting, for context, I've been knitting since I was about 5 years old. So coming up for 30 years, 29 years this year. So I've been knitting for quite a long time. And when I wasn't into knitting in a huge way until I was a teenager, but I did knit little matinee jackets and things. And I also cross-stitched quite a lot. So in the evenings, after I'd been to school or done my homework or, whatever it was, the activity for the day in the evening, I would grab my cross-stitch and sit and watch TV with my mum. And I haven't ever just sat and watched the television. It's something that some people in my life find highly irritating. Luckily, I have found a husband who actually encourages it, which is good. But I'm not one who can just sit with their hands not doing anything. But for the past few weeks, I've just been doing exactly that. We've been sat in the evenings watching the TV, and I've just been sat back in my corner, hands in my lap, watching. Not even on my phone, not doing anything. I've had absolutely no making mojo at all. I'm not sure if it's to do with the pandemic. I'm not sure if it's just general fatigue and brain fog. I'm really not sure. I've always done something, be it sewing, jigsaws, knitting, crochet, embroidery, tapestry, cross stitch, you name it, pretty much. So it's been really, really weird for me these past few weeks. I didn't have anything to show you last week, to be fair. I mean, obviously I wasn't in a position to record last week anyway, because family stuff. But I was relieved. I was like, oh, good, I've got an extra week. I could get stuff done. No, I can't. So in the first week when I was off, I basically spent most of the week doing jigsaw puzzles, which was quite funny because I have one of these puzzle boards that folds out and they're fantastic. But my dining room table is also my kind of office desk, ergo a mess. And although it's a good puzzle board, my coffee table in here isn't big enough to support it, and it would just sort of flop down and the pieces wouldn't, yeah. So it has to go on the floor. And so I sit cross-legged on the floor, but of course you're then leaning forwards, aren't you, to do the puzzle. And after a few hours, I couldn't get up. I was literally hobbling around with my back bent, my legs bent, sort of going, which my husband found really, really funny. But I did 3 puzzles. I'm going to try and put pictures up of them. I finished one that had been on the board since last year when I went through a big puzzling phase. Probably about the same time last year. It was quite soon into the pandemic and into the first lockdown. So it is the first anniversary of lockdown on Tuesday, certainly in the UK, of lockdown 1. Anyway, we're currently in lockdown 3. And so I did quite a few puzzles then. So I finished that. My mum had said that she was doing a Thomas Kincaid puzzle, and I adore Thomas Kincaid. So I said, well, which one? And it turns out we had the same one. So I was like, great, I'll race, brilliant. We could do something virtually together. So she said, oh, well, we've already started. I said, that's fine. I'll get this one finished. So I motored along and got this other one finished. And I got the Thomas Kincaid one out and it got all set up. And I said to Mum, right, let's go. I'm ready. I'm going to join in now. And she said, oh, no, I've put it back in the box. Cheers. She wasn't enjoying it, to be fair. There was a lot of white on that one. It was a winter one. And it was really hard. So Alan and I spent the weekend doing that together. And then I started another one. So I actually started a third puzzle, which is most unlike me, and that's kind of been what I've wanted to do recently. So at the end, what I decided to do so that I was doing something was I used to be a teacher, some of you know this, and so I went on classtools.net, I think it is, and I used the random name picker. So you put in the names of the children and then you spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on is who you ask the question of. Of course, rather than putting children in, I was putting whips in, and whatever it landed on I would work on for just half an hour at a time. So that's how I've tackled that this last week, certainly. But what I also didn't do was I didn't remove, normally when you've spun the wheel, you can remove the name from the wheel so that child knows they're not going to get picked on again. I never did, because otherwise the kid's like, yeah, I've answered my question, I'm going to chill. No. But I didn't do that with my whips either. So actually one night I spun it and I worked for an hour and a half, I think, possibly 2 hours on my Slipstravaganza by Stephen West. So I just, as I spun the wheel, whatever it landed on, that half an hour, that's what I focused on. So I've worked on a fair few things, but I haven't got anything much to show. So I did an hour on my architecture sweater by Emma Vining, which is absolutely beautiful. This is Croft Shetland Wild. The only problem I've had with the Wild, it's done it to me twice now, is where it is roving, it has broken on me, and it's done that twice. But I've just spliced it back together, carried on, tied a knot, carried on with it. So that is very, very nearly finished. I think I've got one more row and then I cast off for the shoulders, and that's the back of that done. But that hadn't seen any love in quite some time. So that's nice. It's an all over cable sweater with these kind of triangles here, triangle motifs, and then they all go up into like the barley twist cables. It's utterly beautiful. I love the kind of self-striping, kind of ombre fade effect of this yarn. It is next to skin soft, and it will be perfect when I finish it, likely in the height of summer, because this is me. The other thing that's seen a lot of work, and in fact is nearly finished, is a little vest for my friend's expected baby grandson. He was actually due last Monday, so I haven't heard anything, so at the moment I'm assuming he's still in there, tucked in. But yeah. And this is a little vest from West Yorkshire Spinners. It's a free online pattern designed for their Bo Peep Pure, which it comes in plain colours, pure merino, but I've used luxury merino DK. I've used luxury merino DK, which has quite a lot of nylon in it, and it washes up absolutely beautifully and knits beautifully as well. So that's that. So I've got literally just the armband and the sewing up to do. I'm slightly worried because I measured this really, really carefully to make sure the fronts and backs were the same length so I can mattress stitch it, but the back seems to be pulling up a bit shorter. So it's in the Puddles colourway. Most of the Bo Peep colourways are solids, but this one is slightly variegated. It looks kind of self-patterning, a bit like Crofter. Have you come across Serdar Crofter before? And what I did to make sure it matches up here is I wound off some of the yarn what you do is you work it from the bottom up, and then when you get to the V, you work one side only and then break the yarn, reattach it, and then carry on knitting. And if you do that without winding any yarn off, you could end up with the stripes being more like, you know, being asymmetrical. I can't think of any words today, guys. You're gonna have to forgive me. So what I did was I wound off some yarn to try and make sure that these matched up, and I'm really, really pleased with the result. I've done the 6 to 12 month size because baby's due now, which is March, and babies often have 0 to 3 months in abundance, and then 3 to 6 months, March, April, May, June, so that'd be July, August, September. It's going to be too hot for a double knitted vest. So I thought I will go with 6 to 12 months. And hopefully little man can get a lot of nice use out of it. I love little vests like this. The one thing I like particularly about this one is it's also got a button, so all these ends. It's also got a buttonhole here, so actually, and here as well. So there's no worry about whether or not you're going to get baby's head through there comfortably. So that is that. The next one I've got to talk to you about, I'm really excited. This is actually the sample sock, the official sample sock for the playground socks, which have been tested and are ready to go out. But all I need is to actually knit up a final sock and finish the grading to make the 3 sizes. I'm trying to make sure that my socks are size inclusive because I'd only ever come across sock patterns with 1 size before, believe it or not. That actually seems really hard to believe, knowing what I know now about sock knitting and designing in general. But yeah, I'd only come across 1 size of sock before. I think it's because they're knit with such negative ease, which means they are like, that is significantly smaller than my calf width, but it stretches out to fit. That's negative ease. Positive ease is the opposite, where if it was significantly bigger than my calf, it would be no good as a sock, it would just fall off, but it's what gives you those nice big boxy sweaters. So I've finished the rib. I've worked for an hour on these because I spin the wheel, and I'm about to start the lace pattern. It's an all over lace pattern, and I'm going to get it ready by the weekend, next weekend, because this is going to be released hopefully on the 1st of April. Yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to release it on the 1st of April. I'm going to put some pictures up here of my testers socks. This one is by Erin. So you can see what it looks like. I absolutely love this sock pattern. I've really, really enjoyed making it. And I definitely want to expand the old school sock collection. So there are going to be more coming down the pike. I have one more new cast on, or hook on, I think it's called. And this is the Isla shawl by Anna Nikiforovich. This is being done in Erica Knight Studio Linen, and I'm using it to take part in the Not a Mystery Along that is being hosted by the Yarn Dispensary, which, as most of you know, do you want to sit up here, darling? Come on then, come sit with Mama. Good boy. Good boy. So yeah, it's being hosted by the Yarn Dispensary podcast, which I have started up with my team. It's crazy. It's already doing better than this one. But no, I love it. I absolutely love it. I've got the most fantastic team, and it's so nice having other people to bounce off of as well when you're presenting. So this is my entry. I say entry because obviously hosting the make along, you can't actually join in because, you know, cross purposes, conflict of interest. So anyway, Vic actually chose these colours for me. Green, a kind of beigey, beautiful teal, and a steel grey. And actually I think they work really well. I think when it blocks out, it will be really interesting and holy. I think it needs a good blocking, but it's quite a good span. So that is by Anna Nikiforovich, and the Yarn Dispensary Cal is continuing throughout the whole of April. So if you haven't checked that out yet, then head on over to the Yarn Dispensary on YouTube and check it out. I also have had the very great pleasure of being asked to make an interactive toy for a friend of mine who has a lovely grandson who is of the age where he is wanting to do shape sorting and play with stacking cups and do all that sort of fine motor skills stuff. And she sent me a picture and she said, any chance you'd be able to do these? And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. So this is a teeny tiny stacking cup. This is the teeny tiny one. And that's actually a purple. It's coming up quite pink on my screen. And they're going to be in different sizes, but with rainbow colours. So I'm doing this in cotton. The pattern I'm using calls for, what's it called for? Aran weight cotton. I thought I was doing this in DK, but I'm pretty convinced this is 4-ply. And I got this as a bundle from Hobby. And this is Cotton Kings. There was a discount if you bought like a bag of rainbow. And why wouldn't you buy a bag of rainbow given the choice? And what I love about this is it's got this like easy start tab. They found the middle for you. It even says, look, easy start. Pull here, basically, which is genius. So I will link, I've forgotten the name of the pattern and the designer, but I will find them and I will link them just down below for you as well. It wanted me to do it on a size 2mm hook, which would have given a really, really dense, well, it didn't. For an Aran one, it wanted to use the size 3 hook. So I would have needed to use, on the biggest size, size 2 on the 4-ply. And I just couldn't get on with that. And I think that's dense enough. So I'm using a size 3 hook. Now that has a deadline because I need to get it sent off for not this weekend coming, but the weekend after, because I want it to get there to be an Easter toy for this little man to play with. The final whip that got a lot of work, and I've left it in the middle of the row. This is how wedded I am to my half an hour at a time. So I've left it in the middle of the row, is my Stephen West. So this is the Slipstravaganza. This is worked entirely, with the exception of the mohair dare, in the Project Bag yarns. So Midnight Dyery is formerly known as the Project Bag. I rebranded and completed my rebrand in January this year. So the main colours are, the darker one isn't peacock and the brighter blue is exotic. The contrast main colour, which you can see with these bits of pink and purple in a mint base, is Myra, which is one of my signature collection. And then we've got Purple Party as the other contrast colour there. So I'm absolutely loving it. But even as much as I'm loving it, I didn't want to work on anything. So I just put it down and I didn't work on anything. And luckily the spin the wheel thing has kind of saved me. I did have this on a cable extender. So I had it on 2 100cm cables with a cable extender in the middle joining them. But I just found it a bit unwieldy. So at the moment it's crammed up on one 100cm cable. So there you have it, folks. If it wasn't for the random name picker, I would have even less than that to show you. However, I have recently been inspired by mini skeins. So as you know, I have my mini Spaceballs open for pre-order. They ship out on the 29th of March. So pre-orders will close for those tomorrow night when the shop update is done. So they're going to be shipping out the following week. And I then thought, well, what else can we do with minis? Someone suggested I do a signature collection as minis, which I'm totally going to do. But the other thing is that I don't think many people know, and they're not on the website at the moment, is I actually stock books from the Shawl Project. So I stock, the Crochet Project. So this is book 3. I have book 1 and book 4 in stock as well, I think. And they're just fantastic crochet shawl books. I think each one's got like 6 shawls in. So this one is the one that's caught my eye. Thinking about mini, sorry, the light's going. Thinking about mini skeins. It is called Fog Break by Cat Golden. And it uses a kind of fade, but with a contrast popping in between. And so that has piqued my interest rather. So in this box, I have rather a lot of mini balls, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one, but I've also made enough minis that you guys can make it along with me should you like. So we have Lilac, we have Moonlight Shadow, we have I think that is, where's the other one gone? Fairies in the Back Row, and we have Fairy Kisses, and finally we have Onyx. So these are going to be like my fade together, and Onyx, let's use the mini skein I've got. Onyx is going to be the thing that ties them all together. So that's one colour story, and I'm going to be working in those ones. So it's a 5 mini a 5 colour mini ball set. So 5 20-gram mini balls. Although I can wind them into mini skeins if you prefer. And that's one colour story. And the other colour story I'm working on are blues. So this is another Midnight Dyery debut colourway. Can't remember what I called it, to be honest. Which I really love. I think it's called Nautical Twilight. But yeah, it's all blues and greys. And then we've got Earth's Shadow that goes with it rather beautifully. This one is Monet, which is looking really, really teal on the camera, and it's not. And then this one, can't remember what I called this one. Anyway, so those ones go together with Peacock. Right, hang on. Let me try and get this into some sort of order. So you've got your fade there. And then your coordinating / slightly contrasting colour. Are you going to balance? Are you going to balance? Are you going to stay there? Are you going to stay there? Stay there. Stay, 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 stay. Oh, so far so good. It's either going to be, I like that one too. Woo! Oh, it was going so well. Right, stay. Stay, stay, stay. All right, stay, stay. Or Peacock. I think it's probably going to be, I like that one too. Anyway, those will be available, if not in tomorrow's update, then they'll be available next week. I kind of like onyx with those as well, if I'm honest. So yeah, if they're not available tomorrow, if I haven't finished winding all these mini balls, then they will be available next week in a kind of mini update, a top update. So yeah, I'm looking forward to making that shawl. I feel like this episode is kind of whizzed, but also I'm really sorry, guys. I just haven't got that much to share with you this time. I've just, like I said earlier, I've been in a complete funk, not wanted to make anything, which is really unlike me. I'm very tired at the moment as well. I'm not sleeping brilliantly. And get your violins out, guys. Come on. Sorry, it's not like me to moan. Oh, I don't know. It's just been one of those weeks, and I guess sometimes we have those weeks, even as creatives. I would love to hear what you guys do to cope. If you are feeling a bit flat and your mojo's gone missing. Talking about mojos though, and talking about my hand-dyed yarns and shop updates, I have been sent this fabulous bag by the gorgeous So Can Jo. There's her label there. And it is a fantastic project bag with some little goodies in there as well. So I'm going to find out if they're for me or for you. But this is sent as a podcast prize. Now, why would I need a podcast prize? Well, I've got a brand spanking new, 2 brand spanking new make-alongs coming up. So the first one is... So the first one is the Cozy Creature Comforts Cal. I've put this off for almost an entire year, but I really, really want to make my animal themed colourwork sweater, my animal creature themed. And there are lots of you who I know have been waiting for this one to happen as well. I said we were going to get on the bandwagon and I immediately fell off. So we're going to start that. But the other one, so that is basically any colourwork thing that includes an animal reference. And it's animal or creature because I have it on good authority that someone wants to knit an Natasha Tinky Winky sweater, which is fine. If you are into the Teletubbies, then you do you. So yeah, Cozy Creature Comforts Cal is going to be coming. But on the 1st of April, I am kicking off the Midnight Make-Along. So I know, because I've sent it to you, that quite a few of you have little stashes of the Project Bag Midnight Dyery yarns. And so I think it's high time we make something with these. Okay, it's lovely that you've given them loving homes and you take them out and pet them every so often, but they need to grow up, okay? They need to realise their potential. So we're going to have the Midnight Make-Along. It's going to start on the 1st of April, and any project that uses my yarn, and I am actually going to stipulate it has to be 50% or more of the project that uses my yarn. I don't ever really do that. If you're new to the channel, I promise you I do loads of inclusive and accessible make-alongs where you do not have to use indie dyed yarn. But I really would just love to see some fantastic projects in the yarn that I've sent you guys over the last couple of years. So at least 50% of the yarn has to be Midnight Dyery or the project bag, or and this is where you can use any yarn you want, if you use one of my patterns, free or otherwise. If you use my pattern and my yarn, double entry. There you go. So as part of this, the old school socks are out. The playground socks are going to be coming out. The railings cowl is finally going to be released. And this make along is going to run, I think, initially until September. So it's going to be a 5-month, to May to June, July to August, September, 5-month make along. So the 1st of September, and anything that's Midnight Dyery yarns 50% or more, or project bag yarns, you know, because it's a rebrand, I'm still going to do a load of colourways, then that counts. So I hope you will join me for that. Okay, so on to the final bit of the podcast. So I mentioned at the top of the episode that I am an indie dyer. That means that my job is to put beautiful colours onto high quality yarns by hand, basically. No big machines, although I do use some tools. And this Monday coming, the 22nd of March, is my next shop update. Indie Dye shop updates tend to be every sort of fortnight or month. Some people do it every week if it's their full-time job. At the moment, this is still my part-time job because obviously it takes a while to build up inventory. So thank you so much to everyone who shot my first update. You blew my mind, and you'll be pleased to know that I have restocked Picking Blackberries and Twilight. Both of these skeins need retwisting. They've just been twisted loosely as they've come off the era. They're looking a bit untidy. On my merino tencel base. Now these two sold out really quickly, as did Lake Moat. This is a slightly more vibrant version of Lake Moat, but I'm still loving it. The other colourway that is in the shop is this one, which is Playing Fields. You can see it goes quite nicely with Lake Moat. They are quite similar. Yeah, so these guys who you've seen before, if you've seen the podcast before, will be in the shop update, but I have some exciting new colourways to share with you as well. So first of all, let me introduce you to Stewed Plums. As you can see, it's gold with deep purple raspberry tones and some browns in there. It's really, really rich and beautiful. I should say, if you've not seen this before, it's the tencel that gives it its shine. So just like the shawl I showed you at the beginning of the episode, this is 50% superwash merino using a resin, not lots of harsh chemicals for the superwash, and 50% tencel, which, as I explained before, comes from crushed wood pulp. Just look at that gorgeous deep purple in there. I absolutely love it. I have another 3 colourways going in, but one of them isn't spun yet, so I can't show you. But the first one is a colourway you may recognise from the Autumn Winter Collection 2019 from the project bag. It's still drying, which is why it looks like this. But this is neutral tones. So this is a beautiful silver grey with tones of silver grey within it. You can see the different tones in there. So I've got a few skeins of that on the merino tencel base, and this is my new one, which I almost didn't show you because I am so in love with it. This is it. I love it. So I don't know, my husband brought me down some skeins to show you. I don't know if he's picked one with a very obvious, let's see. Right, I just need to organise this slightly. It's got a little bit twisted. There we go. So, I don't know how well you'll be able to see. It has flashes, oh there we go, of hot pink. And then it's got these rich purple and burgundy tones going down to some golden tones at the bottom. This was going to be called Perfectly Plum to go with spiced plums. and it was meant to be the outside of the plum, the flesh, which the skin, which I find absolutely beautiful. Let me sort this out and see if I can twist one slightly. Just look at it. I nearly didn't show you because I just want to keep them for myself. It's like, I want a sweater. I want a sweater in this colour. There we are. I love it. I can't begin to tell you how much I love it. I have never, ever been this thrilled with the colour that's come out of the dye pots. It is everything I hoped it would be, and more, if I'm honest. It's just, I made that. Can you believe that? Look at it, just look. So this is going in the shop update as well. As much as I want to keep it for myself, it is going into the shop update. So there is one other colourway on Merino Tencel, but I can't show you because it's still in the dye pot. It's cooling, it's going to be washed and spun tonight, and it will, even if it's not bone dry, it will be dry enough for a photograph tomorrow. But that again is kind of purple leaning. So there's definitely a sense of a collection building up. So I mean, if you look at those three together, it's just a bit gorgeous, isn't it? Just a bit gorgeous. Now I also have 3 new cotton colourways going in. One is having its bath, having been dyed. This is another one. I hate winding cotton. It makes my skin feel funny. People have their own aversions. For me, it's the feel of this cotton on my fingers where my knuckles are. But this is beautiful. It is super, super soft and squishy, and it's all the blues. It is very Midnight Dyery. It isn't quite this, but it's close. So I was trying to bring in some Midnight Dyery colourways onto cotton, because so far all I've managed to achieve on cotton are solid colours that are quite pastel, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I prefer to dye quite vibrant or moody, one of the two. I don't tend to do pastel too much. So yeah, there we go. That's not bad, is it? That is not bad. One where I knew I cracked it was this one. This is Lake Moat. It is, if I grab Lake Moat, they look completely different because you have to use completely different dyes as well. But I'm pretty chuffed with that one as well. And the other one is called POP, which is an acronym. And basically, because I'm quite a family-friendly show, but I dyed it when I was feeling thoroughly fed up the other night, and I was just like, the pandemic can just go away. So it's Go Away Pandemic, or POP for short, and I'm sure you can fill in the gaps for yourselves. I have already shown you some of the one-of-a-kind skeins that are going into the shop update, but here is another one. This hasn't got a name. It was a trial, and basically it's inspired by the colours in daffodils as they start to open. So you've got the kind of not quite brown, I don't really know how to describe it, the bit that comes out the outside before the leaves, and then the yellows and oranges. So that was a play around. There's one of those. There is also one of these speckled beauties. I don't often do speckles, but I had a bit of a play and I quite like how that came out. I'm also really excited to show you the first in my signature collection. So the signature collection are yarns that I used to dye as the project bag, the ones that I've really become known for, that I had to bring with me to the Midnight Dyery. Couldn't go without them. So this, people might recognise as Grubby Goldfish, but Grubby Goldfish is all grown up. It is much more mature. There's many more layers and tones to it than the very basic dye job that I did as a new baby dyer back in 2018. Having said that, Grubby Goldfish was and remains one of my best-selling colourways. It was one that I really didn't like when it came out of the dye pot because I was going for something completely different. So I'm just trying to tidy up the skein. I don't know what is wrong with my skeining. I did it in a rush. So I've got a few of those going in. There are some more somewhere, can't find them. But I've got a few of the grown-up grubby goldfish going in to the shop update as well, alongside, and now all my signature colourways have been slightly reimagined, alongside Aurora Borealis, which again is a little bit more grown up. It has changed slightly. Still, I think it's still instantly recognisable as Aurora Borealis, just like someone would look at that and say that's grubby goldfish, but there's just a little bit more depth to it. I've applied some of the things I've learned over the years as I've studied dyeing. Sounds very strange, doesn't it? But some of the things I've learned as I've developed my skill. So yeah, I have saved the best till last. This is a brand new concept that I kind of fell on the other night. I was having a live studio session and I had one skein of merino nylon that I found that had escaped the main stock and hadn't been dyed. So what I did was I popped it into the dye tray and I invited the people who were there watching my studio session to tell me what they would like me to put on it and to help with the creative process of this skein. And I had so much fun doing it, and you guys don't know all the colours that went on because I added a few bits as well. It was kind of a real collaboration, which is really exciting. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So this is going to be listed in the shop. There is only one skein, but I might make it a regular feature. So once a month, do a live studio session. We'll have a play together, a collaboration, one late night dye session. And the skein or skeins will then appear in the next shop update. But are you ready to see what we created? There it is. There it is. You guys did that. So this is it in untwisted form. And then if we give it a twist, you can see what it looks like in skein form, but with a stray loopy bit, because of course. I absolutely love it. It is not like anything I've dyed before. It won't be dyed again, because these are our little collaborations. And you can see there's a lovely deep minty base with pops of deeper teal, and I don't know how well you can see it, but there are pops of emerald in there, and pinks and purples too. The whole thing is just beautiful. So yeah, one of those going into the web shop tomorrow, and if you're fast enough, you might get your hands on it. But this is going to be something that I look to do every month, or every shop update anyway. We'll do a collaborative dye studio one, and it'll be just a bit of fun, really. So that feels like a really appropriate time to wrap this up. In general life stuff, there's not much going on. Perth Yarn Fest has revealed yesterday that there will be a hybrid event, all things being well. So a mini version, mini's probably the wrong word. Please correct me in the comments, Eva. There's going to be a market, an in-person market, and there will be some virtual things going alongside. That's been announced on their grid, so do make sure you're following Perth Festival of the Yarn. You know I'm a massive fan of it. You know I love it. So yeah, check that out. We had a mouse in the house this morning. I saw a mouse, the mouse disappeared, and then I saw the mouse walking back across my living room holding a dog biscuit in its mouth, a piece of Magnus's kibble, which it held on to steadfastly, refused to let it go while we trapped it and popped it outside. And it still held on to this bit of dog biscuit, which was really quite sweet. So yeah, not a lot else going on really. I enjoyed my dye studio session. I've started reading again. I'm reading the latest Lisbeth Salander book, which is not written by the guy who wrote the Millennium series. Why can't I think of his name? I'm having a really bad memory day today. Anyway. Yeah, but what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to get on with my crocheted shawl, so hopefully I'll have that to show you. And tomorrow there will be a shop update, which will either have special mini sets or it won't. I'm also debating whether or not to put this sweaters quantity. I've only got one colourway of my Galaxy collection finished and ready to go, but I do have a sweaters quantity of Galaxy that could go in the shop as well. I might list it and see what happens. We'll see. If it doesn't go, then I'm having it and I'm making a sweater. Oh dear. Anyway, whatever you're up to, I hope you have a fabulous, warm and woolly week, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.